Hi everybody, and welcome to our Saturday morning program, coming to you from the vast resources of Tim Newton today, my house. And no distractions, I assume, well, apart from the domestic distractions of 2 cats and a dog. Not sure if we'll get a visit from any of them this morning. The dog's probably outside chewing on something, maybe our guest's shoe. But great to have you with us. Welcome to the program, no matter where you are in the world. And that's the wonderful thing about these Saturday programs, is we do have all these different people from different parts of the world. So we welcome you all. And already quite a few people online. Hello to Scott, all the way from Chicago. Number 1 today, Scott. We've got Val, Scarface. We've got, that was me, Rock Trip on This, who says, nice building in the pic, Tim, your next rental. The picture in the thumbnail, if you're asking, is actually it's where I had breakfast this morning. It's the Aquella Golf Course. Now, out of all the, well, I suppose the usual sort of Thai detritus and bins not emptied and old shop houses in Thai Muang, as beautiful as it is, there's nothing quite as spectacular as the Aquella Golf Course, which really stands out in the town. I don't know, it was built about 10 years ago. I'm just guessing it might have been a bit before that. Principally with money from Hong Kong. I think it was a Mr. Lee, probably a fairly safe guess. And a lot of money invested, and somehow they've got their hands on this land, coastal land, for about 2 kilometres along the foreshore of the south part of the Tai Muang beach. And the golf course is very spectacular indeed. Steve and I did a program there last week, and we'll probably do a bit of a show you around the golf course one day. Surprise, it's got 18 holes. I don't play golf, but they do have a good restaurant there, and sometimes if you want a bit of a Western fix, then they do a very good Western style breakfast. Good heavens, I look so tired. Anyway, we've got a few things to talk about. One thing I do want to talk about today, and before I ask you a question which will help with our channel, is last week the talk was all about over-tourism in Thailand. There were the headlines saying tourist operators are calling on the Thai PM to do something about the over-tourism in Thailand, and complaining that places like Phuket and Pattaya principally, and parts of central Bangkok, although there's plenty of space in Bangkok, were suffering from over-tourism. Now, there have been other parts in the world that have had similar reports recently. Venice has just introduced some sort of, relatively radical tourism tax. Bali had a report done by CNA, Channel News Asia, last month about the problems of over-tourism on the holiday island. And I was thinking to myself when I was watching it, I should do a video talking about or mapping Phuket specifically as a Southeast Asian island onto this report about the over-tourism in Bali, because just about everything they said you could have said about Phuket as well, and we'll mention some of that a bit later on in the program too. But the idea of over-tourism is something that is not new. I think there was a report last week we did saying the Canary Islands or controlled by Spain were having the same problem with over-tourism. So yeah, I mean, there is some places that are very busy. What I was thinking about at the time, though, when all these people were carrying on about how over-tourism was destroying parts of Thailand, is that the numbers of tourists coming to Thailand, even just before Songkran, were still only around about 80% of the numbers of tourists visiting here back in 2019, which was the year before the COVID pandemic. So it's not as if we're sort of getting back to unusually high numbers. Having said that, there has been a few lumpy bits, like, it's a roller coaster, it's not a straight line. And Phuket in particular, during, say, January and February, was absolutely rammed. There were places you could go on the island, well, perhaps you couldn't, where the traffic was insane and there were just people everywhere and the shops were full. And I noted the times I was visiting there that the traffic was getting really, really heavy. And it certainly has alleviated quite a lot. Now, if you're up in Pattaya, please report what the situation was there. But a lot of people saying it was very busy in some parts as well. But it's not as if we're just saying what happened back in 2019 is automatically happening again. Again, it's this roller coaster, it's lumpy. The people that are coming here, the demographics are a bit different from, say, 1990, from 2000, from 2010, even 2019. Now, the principal visits are coming from China, from Russia, from South Korea, from Malaysia, from Singapore, quite a lot of short-haul destinations, or India as well, which is a 3 or, well, at the worst, a 4-hour flight from Thailand. So, yeah, I mean, the situation has changed a bit. Now, it's not as if we're not getting visitors from Europe or the UK or the US or Australia or New Zealand. I mean, they're still coming, roughly in the numbers that they used to, but the big surge is coming from a lot of these short-haul destinations. And I think part of that is because of the cost of flights is higher at the moment than it was back in 2019. So therefore, that's accumulated, or squared, when you go to these further away destinations. So the long-haul destinations like the UK, like the US, even Australia, parts of Europe, because the flights are in some cases double what they were at the best time back in 2019, it's putting off a lot of people from travelling those long distances. So we are getting the shorter haul destinations really taking off in the past few years. So yeah, a lot of South Koreans, a lot of Malaysians, and some of them skipping across the border for a weekend or a few days. So that's become really popular as well. So look, things are changing. There's no surprise about that. And it's not as if the UK or the Australian or the United States or the European tourists have turned away from travelling to Thailand. I think a lot of them still want to, many of them still are, but the airfares are more expensive. How expensive are they? You tell me. Also, I'd be interested to know in the comments section if you could tell us about other areas in the world that you think are suffering from over-tourism. Coping with this over-tourism is going to be an interesting prospect around the world. I think in Amsterdam they've stopped issuing building permits recently. So that's the way that they're trying to limit the growth of tourism in that area. As I mentioned, in Venice they've introduced some sort of tourist tax. They keep on talking about a tourism tax, an arrival tax, some sort of visitor tax here in Thailand, but they can't quite figure out how to collect it. Having said that, they've had a departure tax in Thailand for decades, as long as I can remember, and well before. I mean, even back to 2000, I remember there was a departure tax. In those days, I think we actually had to pay it at the gate. Then it was collected by airlines in the airline ticket, in the departure leg of the ticket. So when they're talking about a new tourism tax, it shouldn't come as any surprise that they may indeed do it. I don't know. But yeah, in Maya Bay, which is in Koh Phi Phi, the island in the province of Krabi, right in the middle of Phangar Bay, one of the most popular destinations for visitors in Thailand, and the most popular tourist attractions. It was really suffering from over-tourism back in 2018. They closed it down for nearly 3 years to let the bay recover, and then they built a pontoon at the back of the island so the boats would arrive there and then people would walk across, 5-minute walk on a boardwalk above the mangroves, and then arrive at the Maya Bay beach, but from the beach side, not the bay side. And the bay's basically closed to traffic. And the little, I think, blackfin sharks or something sharks, they've returned to the bay, as well as some of the coral is showing signs of regrowth. So, yeah, I mean, they can do it if they want to. And a lot of the problem too with the over-tourism is people see these vast beaches in a place like Phuket or even Pattaya, beautiful beaches. And yeah, they've done a great job reclaiming some of the beaches up there. It's sort of not quite the same as a natural beach, but anyway, it looks good in the postcards. But then when people arrive, there's touts and there's vendors and there's lots of people and there's sun lounges and all the vendors there with their sun lounges and umbrellas, and it can get, well, quite messy, especially at, say, high tide when the beach gets a lot smaller and it's just a lot harder to traverse up and down the beaches. Oh, we've got Dina as a visitor. No, we've got Dusty. We'll say hello to the cats when they turn up. If they turn up. Dusty, come on. The cats. We're going to talk about pets at some stage as well. So over-tourism was one problem. Now, after Songkran, we've suddenly got people saying, oh, where are the tourists? There's no tourists coming. Well, of course they are coming, but they're coming in lower numbers than they were before. If you want to say hello, Dusty, come and say hello. So this is old Dusty, the 11 or 12-year-old cat, and Dusty's sort of been a staple through the last 4 or 5 houses. Say hello, Dusty. Don't really care, but Dusty's the senior citizen in the house. Suppose I am as well. So good to see you, Dusty. Completely fascinated. Thank you for your visit. Thank you for your service in regards to rodent control in the house as well. We're turning up with a mouse or two from time to time. Sometimes the mouses are a bit bigger as well. So yeah, I was just speaking to a gentleman this morning. What are you talking about? You've been fed. So I asked a question, hey, hi, what's happening with forward bookings? This is a hotelier in Phuket. Have things slowed down after Songkran? Where are the tourists coming from? Prospects for the Chinese market? And just some quick comments. The Russian market still have problems with an embargo on some of their aircraft, but they're working on different ideas and expect a result next year. Interesting, we reported on our TNT program on Thursday about a Phuket airport closure of the runway when it turned out it was a Russian plane from Aeroflot, an Airbus A330, which had landed and suddenly wasn't able to turn its steering to get off the runway, and a whole lot of hydraulic fluid fell onto the runway, which is not a good thing for either the runway because it's quite caustic and it sort of can melt the tar. But not only that, of course, it becomes very slippery for the aircraft that may want to take off or land. So I had to close down the airport for just over an hour, and they towed that plane. But again, an Aeroflot plane, in this case an Airbus, that only may have some sort of maintenance issues. So interesting with Aeroflot planes flying around the world. Are they able to get spare parts? Are they being properly serviced with the various embargoes that are in place? That person's also left a couple of very long messages. I haven't had a chance to read them, sir. You know who you are. But it might have some interesting information. I can't really stop them and listen to them. So we might talk about that next week. But yeah, other people saying, gee, what have happened to the bookings? Now I can say with Beach House Thailand, which is the company that runs the 3 Airbnb or short-term rentals or booking.com, whatever you want to call it, properties here on Tai Muang Beach, our forward bookings are horrendous at the moment. Suddenly, after Songkran, the bookings have really slowed down. Well, we're still getting a few here and there. And we've got a guest behind us today in the Bamboo Beach House. But yes, by the way, This program is brought to you today by Beach House Thailand. If you want to have a nice quiet visit on a beautiful beach just north of Phuket. In fact, you're a lot closer to Phuket Airport here than you are in Patong in Phuket, and it's a much more pleasant drive, just driving straight off the top of the island over the bridge and up into sunny Panga, and we've got this beautiful beach. Now, I can also say, I'll probably talk more about this tomorrow with Steve, but the beach, the geography of the beach has changed over the past week. We had some quite big swells coming in from the Andaman Sea, crashing into the coast, and it's really reshaped the beach. So now at low tide, we've got about a 4 metre quite steep drop to the water, and then it flattens out. So you do have to walk out 30, 40, 50 metres to get into some, sort of water up to here. So the whole topography of the beach has really changed, and I suppose that just happens and changes with different tides and different times of the year. But there you go. I will get to your comments, and we did have. I'll start off with one question from me, and then questions from all of you. And that's in relation to a post I did yesterday. Some people had a few stupid questions, but a few interesting questions as well, and we'll get to those first before your questions in the comments section today. Before I get to my question, just very quickly, we're going to check the Thai baht, because it certainly has tanked in recent weeks. Now we can see this is the USD to Thai baht. Currently, well, just 2 or 3 hours ago, it was just under 37 Thai baht to a US dollar. If we go back to September 2023, that's when it was, over the last year, the highest, the lowest the baht had been against the dollar. That was just over 37 baht. At one stage this week, it got to 37.13 baht to the dollar. So certainly the baht's really struggling against the US dollar. Just historically, if we go back, this is 5 years, and we can see back in 2022, around about October, that number, what was it? Got to 38.3 Thai baht to the dollar. So over the the recent history, that's as low as low as the Thai baht's been, 38. We're heading in that direction. We may break through that again. Let's just check some of the other currencies. The euro, we can see in the past week or so, that same drop of the Thai baht, showing a rise against the rise of the euro. Well, I'm not sure. Well, it's just a comparison. It's not necessarily one is rising and the other one's lowering. It's just the other comparison. So, but the Thai baht has been dropping against all these other currencies. Hope I got that right. So currently 39.5 Thai baht to the euro. Checking the British pound, we can see since January this year, it's been a steady increase in baht to the British pound, currently 46.2. The Australian dollar, it's sort of going a bit more up and down, but since October last year, it's been a steady increase in the number of baht you can get to the Australian dollar, currently 24.1. Importantly, the Chinese yuan, and we can see that same sort of drop of the baht, which is showing a rise in the graph since January this year, and currently you're getting 5.1 Chinese yuan, Thai baht to a Chinese yuan. And can I go further? It's not cooperating. This is the Russian ruble, which, because there's so many Russians coming here, is important. And currently 0.4 Thai baht to a Russian ruble, and you can see really since January it's just been a quite steady, slow but insignificant drop. And certainly the number of a Russian ruble to the Thai baht, Thai baht to the Russian ruble, not showing the same sort of increase that a lot of other currencies have. But critically, that US dollar, the USD, either the US dollar is steadily increasing or the Thai baht's dropping exponentially. But yeah, people getting a lot more Thai baht to their currencies when they're coming here. So if you are a tourist, you might lose a bit on the flights, but you're probably going to gain a bit on your currency when you get here. So what else did I need to talk about? Your question. Oh, my question, then your questions from yesterday. I'll get to those by clicking on this and going to community. Oh God, I hope I can do this. How do I do this? I go back to my channel. Excuse me while I'm farting around here. I have to go to oh, my screen is being very uncooperative. YouTube Studio, this might work. Checking on channel, and no, that's not working. Oh, we're going to have one of those days, I think. How do I get to the community section? And if I go, I don't know how to do it. There we are. Check on that. No, it doesn't take me to. How do I get to the community section? Tim Newton today. Oh, here we go. Community. That was fun, wasn't it? All right. So my question first with the. Sorry about that. With the daily program we do Monday to Friday, a quick whip around of the main news stories from around Thailand. It's settled into a sort of a 15-minute format, give or take, and we get it out around about 9:30, 10 a.m. each day. So my question to you is, what ideally would be a good length for the daily Thai news? Now, it's not that I'm trying to sort of reinvent the wheel here, but I'm always looking to progress the channel and try and find services that are going to be more valuable to you. Because at the end of the day, I want to grow the channel. Now, it's growing continuously, not quite as fast as it was in the last month, but it's really been just a sort of a steady growth in subscribers, daily views. You can watch the graphs, and I check this quite often, and everything's heading in the right direction. So thank you. But what would be an ideal length for you for a news program? Would you prefer it was 5 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, 12, 15, 20 minutes? You tell me, because what you want is what I'll provide. Now, I sort of note if a lot of people are saying, oh, we want to make the program longer, or we want to make the oh, hello. We've got another visitor. This is, you might notice she's grown a bit. This is Daisy. Daisy the Wonder Dog. Say hello, Daisy. And Daisy is very good at chewing shoes. Not really destroying them, just chewing them. So Daisy's enjoying her new life here in Thailand, and very happy dog, and she's really healthy. We've had our rabies shot this week at the VET, don't say it too loud, but Daisy, happy, well, and settling in. You happy, dog Daisy? Some motorbike going past. Thanks for dropping in. Daisy will probably just spend the program at my feet. All right, so that question to you is, what is the ideal length of a daily news program? Now, part of the reason I would like to probably just reduce it is just do the news much more straight up and down, without my sort of interjections and my various opinions on things. But on the big news stories, I'd also do a daily, not daily, but maybe twice a week, some sort of opinion piece about particular stories that I think deserve some commentary or some clarification. That's what I'm thinking, but I want to know what you think. So let's get into your questions now. And this is from yesterday's post, and we'll bring all this up on screen. God, I need a producer, I can tell you. On screen number 2, here we go. So we roll down, here we've got 22 questions. And as a wine lover, whatever happened about the reduction in wine taxes or tariffs announced by the Thai government? There's been no change in prices on the supermarket shelves to date. Has the tax cuts come into effect? This is actually quite an interesting question. I think the tax cuts have come into effect, But like any of these tax cuts, they've been absorbed with things like inflation and with delivery costs, etc. So I think, I don't know, it was a reduction in the taxes that would affect imported wines, but I think a few people have noted that there really hasn't been much change. But I think those cuts have come into effect, but it appears that they've been absorbed. Let's go to our next question. Can you comment on Coles brand products? Coles is a supermarket brand in Australia, and they have, like a lot of these supermarkets, their own branded products. In other words, you might get a company like, they may not be involved in this, but like Cadbury's, who make chocolates. And out the front of the factory comes the branded Cadbury's chocolate, but out the back of the factory, they would have the same product or a similar product, but branded with the supermarket's name and sold at a lower cost. I found Coles brand products being sold at inflated prices at high-end Thai supermarkets. I was shocked in Bangkok. If I was Thai and found out that I was paying premium prices for a low-end house brand product from Australia, I wouldn't be happy. P.S. Hi, Steve. So that's an interesting question. I asked the person to give me an example of, here we go. So e.g. Tops Market in Bangkok, their website shows a lot of Coles, the Aussie supermarket products, canola oil, butter, frozen fruit, biscuits, flour, bagels, apple cider, the list goes on. Well, I don't know if there's anything wrong with these products. In fact, I'm sure the products are perfectly fine. They're probably paying a premium given that they're being imported. So that's why they would be paying more than what they might pay for a Thai version of the same thing. Don't really have much to add to that one, but an interesting thing, if you do see any of these supermarket branded products from your part of the world in Thailand, and you're noticing that they're sort of being promoted as premium or worth paying an extra couple of baht for, I don't know. Going to our next question. Influence of the civil war on Thailand in case of an increase of refugees. Will Thailand close the border? Well, we've actually got a few different civil wars on at the moment. Well, one's down in the south of Thailand, the ongoing southern insurgency. They haven't closed the border to Malaysia because of that. And we have had a few other incidents recently, but not really much to add to that. As far as the other border is concerned with Myanmar, they are trying to keep the border open in some locations, but increasingly it's getting more difficult to get through those border posts, particularly for the Burmese. And as I've said many, many times, if you're thinking of visiting Myanmar at the moment, just don't. I have got a lot of contacts that I speak to on a daily basis about the situation in Myanmar. I mean, although I report it, a lot of people sort of don't really dig it or want to hear about it or want to know about it, but I do try and provide you with the main milestones. Suffice to say, it's not a good situation in Myanmar, and I would suggest very unsafe for people to travel at the moment. How do I get to the community tab on Tim's channel? You found it, so congratulations. Asexual, or here's another letter that comes with more or li. Okay, this was actually I think he's just making a comment there. I asked yesterday in a story about the same-sex marriage or the Marriage Act here in Thailand, or amendments to it, and they were referring to the LGBTQIA community. I think I included them all. And I asked innocently, what did A stand for? It was a part of the rainbow alphabet that I hadn't heard before. And apparently it's meant to mean asexual, which means you don't have any particular interest in sex with either sexes. So yes, that seems to be what the A stands for. When it comes to sexual preference, I wouldn't have thought being asexual is a preference. It's a lack of preference, I would have thought anyway. I'm not going to get into all that. But thank you very much for that comment. Here's another one. I heard you mention your holiday accommodations and the mention of bookings through Airbnb. Is that the only way to book at the moment? Are there other ways? Just asking, should I come your way sometime in the future? Also, not being very familiar with Thailand yet, what's the best time to visit? If you just send me an email, if you'd like to book outside of Airbnb and bookings.com, I'm very happy when people book through Airbnb and bookings.com. Yes, I do pay a commission, but they do all the hard work. They collect the monies, they handle the cancellations, they do the marketing for me, most importantly. So I don't have any problems with those commissions. But if you do want to book with me directly, just send me an email at timnewtontoday.com. Would be delighted to have you here, and things starting to cool down hopefully in the next few weeks. What's the best time to come to Thailand? Depends which part of Thailand. If you're talking about southern Thailand, like here, the in Pangar at Tai Muang Beach, then we'd be talking the best time probably November through to end of February. Is a little bit cooler. And you're moving into the high season for tourism. Then you move into the hot season, say from February to April and May. Then you got the wet season from May through to October. That's here in the south. Sort of similar up in northern Thailand, but in the north of Thailand, you actually get a cold season. And when we say cold, it might get down to say 10 degrees overnight, not much beyond that, but it only sort of lasts a month. Then they have their hot season at the same time, and they move into a wet season from May to November as well. Okay, next question. Oh yes, you can book directly with me. So I'm in Melbourne for the weekend. Paran, what to do? Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I used to spend quite a lot of time in Paran in Melbourne. I've got some favourite haunts there. Probably changed a bit since I was there, but quite a bohemian sort of little place. Very trendy. I liked Paran. I don't know, ask somebody else. Hi Tim, noticed on your Grumpy Old Men last week you were kind of struggling with Steve's mic. May I know what kind of input your wired mics are going into? Okay, so look, about that, yeah, look, today I'm using twin mics, lapel mics, but I put them on this little mic stand because lapel mics operate better there than they do here, because it's much more direct to my voice. If they're here, the sound's travelling and so part of it's being soaked up. But I mean, lapel mics do their job. I have ordered a new mic. It should arrive today, and so we'll be using that next week. But we will be using these lapel mics for recording the Grumpy Old Men program today. Look, I could spend a lot of money buying expensive mics, expensive cameras. Today I'm just using the camera on on the Mac. It's the webcam on the Mac, which is a, what is it? It's a 16-inch, 15-inch MacBook Air from last year, or something like that. Anyway, it's a lovely computer. But I'm just using the webcam for a camera, and I'm using these two lapel mics, which are recording my voice, and they go into the headphone socket, strangely enough. And it works as a headphone socket, and it is also as an alternative input socket as well. So there you go, that's the answer. But look, thanks. If I had lots and lots of money and millions of subscribers, then I could probably go and spend some money on some more toys. But hopefully the picture is okay, hopefully the sound is okay, and that's about it. Any numbers available about same-sex marriage in Thailand after legislation? Do Katoi use this option, or do they wait for legal ways to change their gender? That's a separate question, and it's not really being addressed in the change to the Marriage Act in Thailand. Any numbers available about same-sex marriage? I don't think it's been signed off yet by His Majesty the King. Usually we have to wait for royal assent for any changes. but it did go through, it sailed through both houses of Parliament with almost zero resistance, but it does have to be signed off, and that usually takes 90 days before it's gazetted. So I don't think we'll have any statistics for a year or so about what the change in the legislation means, or how many people of same sex have taken up that option. Another one, I think this is another one from Hans. Any update about taxation of expats respectively transfer of money from abroad? And look, I gave this answer. It's the same answer I give everybody. Everything you need to know has been published and easily available. There's no short or black and white answer. Every single person who believes they may be affected should consult a reputable Thai accountant, should be a Thai accountant, for evaluation. That's about the best answer I can give. Hoping I'll be able to join you for the first time live, says Colin. Hope you did, Colin. What flavour of meatballs? Asks Terence F. I have no idea what you're talking about, Terence. So there you go. To all your questions. Dear, and we'll start scrolling through. And by the way, thank you everybody for dropping in today. A very hot day here on Tham Luang Beach. Has been very hot for the past month or two. Thank heavens for air conditioning. I don't have air conditioning in here, but I do have a trusty fan on the side, in addition to the 3 4-legged fans I have floating around the house somewhere. Gee, I don't know if I'm going to get through all these comments before the end of the program. I'll do my best. And certainly happy to hear what you think about the ideas of over-tourism or tourism surges and drops in tourism. I mean, we are now between the Songkran holiday, and that's certainly now finished, even though it was a little bit extended this year. And we're heading into what's traditionally called the low season. Now, parts of the low season are filled up with holidays. Particularly, I think Russia, also China has a holiday sometime during the what we call the low season here in Thailand. So I don't really think we know what's going to happen. As far as my beach houses are concerned, this will be the first low season I go through. I don't know if I'm going to expect a 50% drop, no drop at all, a 90% drop in bookings, but I'll know a lot more after I go through the low season. I mean, I've already got enough bookings to pay the bills for the project, so that's not a problem. But of course, any additional bookings turn into what we call in the business world profit. Colin, good morning from Colin in Adelaide. First time listening now. You'd be the Colin that was on the question. So, hi, Colin. Thanks for joining in. Eileen Morris-Duke says, good morning, Tim. Terj says, good morning from Hat Yai. Cosmos, Sawadee Krap, Tim from cold Belgium. Hit the like button for Tim, says Corey Jackson. Thank you very much, Corey. From Norway, we've got Papa John. We've got Charles from California. Richard Boyne, good evening from Canada. Enjoy your weather. It was -4 last night. I don't do -4. Sandy Allen's got a question. Did you see Mr. Hart's post, there'd be Ben Hart, I suppose, about over-tourism yesterday? It made some very valid points in his own inimitable style. And no, I haven't seen it. I'll try and catch that one because, interested to know what Ben thinks. Ben's been posting a lot more. I'm not sure if he's a bit light on business, but he's really got into the posting on YouTube, and I think he's probably become one of the most popular vloggers in the English language. Good luck. Good morning, Tim from Central Pattaya says, I can't read that. Dorothy Ruby Red Munchkin. Hi. Will it be another blistering 45-degree day in Isan, asks William. My potted plants are all suffering from heat fatigue. Me also. Paul says, LOL, Pattaya, rather quiet at the moment. Thank you. Interested to know what people are thinking these traditionally busy tourist hotspots. Sukhumvit Road, the beach sections of Pattaya, just about anywhere on the west coast of Phuket. Busy or what? Yeah, quiet at Turtle Beach, says Hans. Hi Hans, thank you very much for dropping in. Yeah, I was having a coffee the other day, spent an hour there just doing some stories, and I was the only person in the coffee shop. I felt a bit bad for the owners, but yeah, thank you Hans, and good to have you participating in the program. Athena Sword, good morning everyone. Greetings from Bangkok, nice to have you along. B. Russell, greetings from the Pacific Northwest. What is the name of the intro jazz piece that you used for Grumpy Old Men before your old computer died? Love it and hope you can resurrect it. I don't know what it's called. It's a piece of non-copyright music that YouTube provided. I'll see if I can find it again. We used to do those sort of little visual montages, but Grumpy Old Men is about, well, Steve and I being grumpy and talking about things, and the little introductions with the montage of video sort of seemed a bit superfluous, but I'll see if I can find the music. If nothing else, we can still have a bit of a musical intro. Okay, somebody up from Melbourne says John D. Over-tourism, says Cosmo, is because of all those travel YouTubers saying this is the best coffee or beach or whatever. So everyone comes to Thailand, good and bad. Thank God there are less of those nowadays. Well, I mean, YouTubers, they are part of the marketing mix. Some of them become influencers and people use them to market their various services. So, yeah, I don't think we can blame YouTubers specifically, but it's funny. I've had this myself when I travel to various areas. You see the photo or the video on the screen and you go, I'd like to go there. And then when you go there, it just doesn't look anything like that. The vibe you are getting from the photo just doesn't seem to be matched. Or there are just thousands of people when in the photo there was hardly anybody. So I get it. I mean, the popular places in the world, people want to travel, including here in Thailand. So on one hand, again, talking about Phuket or Pattaya or parts of Chiang Mai, the Thais, they want the tourists to come, even the foreigners who have got businesses. They want the tourists to come. But at the same time, they don't want so many tourists that it ruins the experience for the tourists that are there, who end up saying, oh, I went there, but there were so many people today, I didn't enjoy myself. We don't want people to have that experience. So it's a bit of a quandary. You want the tourists, but just so many tourists, and what's that balance? And who controls the balance? Now, somebody was saying, oh, the airline should charge more. I'm not sure if that would go down very well. Probably go down well with the airlines, but then fewer people would be travelling. Less passengers on the airlines mean they're not making as much. So they drop the number of flights and people can't get to the destinations. I mean, it's a very vexed question. There's so many plates that you have to keep spinning to either reduce the number of tourists or increase the number of tourists. Should they introduce some sort of tourist tax in Thailand, or some sort of entry fee on popular places like Phuket, Pattaya, Chiang Mai? Should they have a hotel tax? So if people want to stay, they're actually contributing to the area, not to the coffers of the central government. But I think there are some countries that already do this. They have a hotel tax. So it's actually targeting those areas where people are staying or overstaying. How are the Philippines compared to Thailand? Asked Hans. I've only been to the Philippines 3 times. My particular experiences weren't profoundly good. Look, I think some people enjoy it because more English is spoken for those people that maybe can only speak one language. Also Spanish, Tagalog. But yeah, there's probably more English spoken there. Food-wise, I think you'll be underwhelmed by the Philippines food. I mean, Thai food is much more interesting. It's got some very beautiful areas like Boracay and other great beaches, but I don't know, that they don't seem to be as developed as Thailand at accepting tourists But look, a very vexed question. I should probably get, we've got a grumpy old men program done in the Philippines. I should maybe get one or two of them, I think there's three of them, online one day. We'll have a talk about why the Philippines are good, why people are going there, and comparing it to Thailand. That's a good question, Hans, and I'll see if I can get somebody to talk about it. For me, it's Thailand all the way. The worst thing about the Philippines was the traffic in Makati. The traffic, anything I've seen in Thailand, was nothing in comparison to that traffic in Makati. And also the I think it's called the Ninoy Aquino Airport, the main airport in Manila. Definitely one of the worst airports in the world. I think it also gets that official title on many different surveys. Appalling airport. I didn't know Australia was long haul. Well, ta-da, Minbury, it's 9 or 10 hours to, say, Melbourne to Phuket. I'd call that reasonably long haul. I mean, what do you call long haul? I'd call anything over, say, 3 or 4 hours long haul. Here we go. Everybody's going to have their own definition of long haul. I don't know if there's an official... anything that I'm extremely uncomfortable after sitting down for a period of time, I'd call long haul. 4 or 5 hours does it for me. If I have to do long haul these days, I try and break it up into 4 or 5 hour blocks. So if I was flying to Australia, I'd fly to Singapore or KL or Bali or something on the way just to break things up. I hate sitting I'm only 173 centimetres and I'm cramped in those seats. I've got a friend, Tim Shaw. Hi Tim, if you're watching, coming over in June. He's 6'3" or something. I have no idea how Tim sits in an economy seat. Or maybe he's going business, I don't know. Bob Tom says, same price as last year, talking about flights. Bangkok to Amsterdam return via KLM was 45,000 baht. 45,000 baht, that seems to be a lot. Is that economy? That's very expensive. Oh my goodness. I can get to Australia quite easily for return for under 30,000 baht. 2 years ago, Brussels to Thailand, 600 euros, says Cosmo. If you're going to quote prices on the vlog, if you could do it in Thai baht, at least we can be consistent and have some way of comparing things. I haven't got time to be doing the conversions here, so if you can quote prices in baht, it would be very helpful to me and everybody else. Craig says, just got a $600, that's Australian dollar, return flight from Melbourne in August. That's good. That's the sort of price that I would call reasonable, probably on the cheaper end, and good to see that those sort of prices are still available. KJ says, I think the problem is managing over tourism, not so much limiting it. More needs to be done to direct tourism to secondary destinations. This will need infrastructure improvements, marketing. KJ, reflecting on that, and thank you for your comment, I think the problem you've got with trying to direct people to secondary locations is people book a flight to go to Phuket or Pattaya or Chiang Mai or Bangkok. If you want them to go to Udon Ratchathani or to Kanchanaburi or to Hat Yai, I'm trying to sort of think of other sort of on the second tier of tourist locations, Nakhon Tamarat, Chumpon, Hua Hin to a degree. The people don't, they're coming to go to the place they want to go to the place they've enjoyed in the past, the place they've heard good stories about. So yeah, it would take a lot of marketing from the TAT to get people to travel to those secondary destinations, assuming that people will still travel to those primary destinations. But yeah, it would be a lot of work, I would think, to encourage people to travel to those secondary destinations, and would take a 5-year marketing plan to get people to do that. Eileen Morris Duke, I'm seeing flights costs from Atlanta, that's in the United States, to Bangkok round trip for January 2025 for $1,300 US. Here we go. So I've got times 20, so 1,300 times 30, I got that wrong. Excuse me, 1,300 times 35. 45,000 baht. That seems to be reasonable. I mean, that's a fair trip. Where would you go? Atlanta to... Are you going to go through the Middle East, through the Emirates, and then to Thailand? Or from Atlanta, you fly to California or Vancouver, and then to Korea or Japan, and then to Thailand? Interested to know which route you take, Eileen, for your 45,000 baht airfare. Nong So says, please like and share. I can't agree with you more. Thank you very much. William Hartz has got an opinion. He says, Tim, the decrease of tourist numbers compared to 2019 still does not mean mass tourism, which relates with poor planning and enforcement of zoning. I still remember what Phuket looked like in 1982. Look, I do think Phuket, and look, I don't want to be dumping on Phuket. I lived there for 12 years and I love the place and I've got a lot of good friends. But what's happening there at the moment, I think, is just beyond the pale. It's stepped over whatever line there was before you get to over-tourism. Some areas are being completely overdeveloped, and I think we've got a problem looming in Phuket. Certainly the growth over the last 2 years in particular has been, well, some people might call it spectacular. I'd call it concerning. There doesn't seem to be any town planning, and the issues of water supply, power supply, I think are going to become issues that a lot of people are going to have to face. So yeah, I remember what Phuket was like 13 years ago when I arrived there to live there, and the island has profoundly changed. Now, some people don't mind a bit of extra traffic. They think it's great that the tourists are pouring into the island and adding to the coffers of the Phuket economy. Yeah, sure, I'm very happy with that too. But also to live there as an expat, it wasn't as enjoyable as it was when I arrived there back in 2011. Cosmo says, don't want to be that guy, but you misspelled Thailand in the description. Oh dear, did I? Cosmo, thank you very much for mentioning it. I will get to that and fix up that particular problem. Surprised Steve didn't bring it to my attention. I could have got a message on my phone. Thank you, Cosmo. I'll attend to that, and apologies. Cats and dogs living in peace, asks Stephen Richter. Sort of. We've had Daisy here for 2 weeks now. Oh, what am I doing? I've got to click on that. There we go. Yeah, Daisy's been here for 2 weeks. Dusty, the black cat, doesn't care. They get along fine. Dina's still in the mode when Daisy gets too close. And where's Daisy? Daisy! Don't know where Daisy is. Anyway. Speaking of cats and dogs, I just wanted to mention this as I go to, we'll get to, that's not really very interesting for this particular audience. We'll mention that too. Here we go. Some people might be, I've got to press this button over here. From The Nation, Pet Expo 2024 set to unveil latest technological innovations for pet care. So if you didn't already know, there's going to be a Pet Expo, if you care, in Bangkok between the 9th and the 12th. Yeah, it starts on May the 9th at the Queen Sirikit National Convention Centre. And that is a great location for these events because it's very easy to get to. There's plenty of parking, plenty of access. There's a BTS that arrives directly in front. So yeah, looking forward to, I think I'll pop up to see that. Not only a dog and 2 cats, we've also got 20 fish, changes every day. Yeah, but they're not terribly interesting to me. Anyway, According to national statistics, Thailand's pet industry has been experiencing a steady 5 to 10% growth annually since 2011. This year, the market is expected to exceed 50 billion baht in value, with pet owners forecast to spend up to 20,000 baht per person for their beloved furry companions. I would suggest that having a pet costs more than that. What, annually? Well, not monthly, but yeah, by the time you get cat food and pet care and a few toys and things, it does sort of add up. But I love my pets, always have had pets right throughout my life. Here in Thailand, there's just no shortage of pets wandering around, or potential pets. And Daisy's just a common old garden soy dog. Looks like all the other soy dogs wandering around here. Not sure exactly how she ended up being cared for or getting to 3 months of age. Very human friendly. I suspect she may have been a part of a Thai family, and she started chewing on everything and was a bit boisterous, and they decided, or maybe nipped one of the other kids, and I'm pretty sure she was dumped. But she just ran into this house. She hit the lottery. As far as we're concerned, so did we. Okay, let's go on to some more questions. And I did get a super chat. I'll just go and find that. Oh, so many questions. Really appreciate all these questions and your support. Where's the super chat? From Scott D. Thank you very much, Scott. Really appreciate your support. And Scott's got, he says, great live stream. Hello, everyone from Chicago. Please hit the like button. When people say hit the like button, it does more than you think. Look, I do appreciate the super chats, and it certainly makes things a bit easier and makes it able for me to buy the odd bit of kit from time to time. Thank you, Scott. Thank you very much. But yeah, the algorithms work in mysterious ways. And if you do hit the like button, it does help the algorithm. YouTube is a black box, and you think you do this, you think you do that, your views are going to go up, and we all A/B test things to try and find out what works and what doesn't. And the more I do A/B testing and the more I read about how to get more views, the more confusing it is. Seems to me the best thing is to be consistent and encourage people to hit that like button. Now, even if you hit the dislike button, I still think it's called engagement. But hit the dislike button only if you don't like something. No, hit the dislike button if you don't like the presentation of the news. Don't hit it just because you disagree with me about an opinion. Still give us the like button, the thumbs up, but then go into the comment section and tell us what you think there. There was a post I saw yesterday that somebody had done on Reddit specifically about me, and wow, did they get their facts wrong? I can't really do much about it. I'll just leave it there to fester. Or now you're all looking, I'm sure. Okay. Kevin says, clothing man, love your shirt. Thank you very much. Lazada, 150 baht. And yeah, I buy another one every month or so. I sort of like the colouring of this. By the way, this wall behind me next week is going to be painted in that colour. Very, very dark navy, a little bit greeny, blue. So yeah, that wall's going to be painted in that colour. Also bought from Lazada, speaking of which, these little soft toy turtles. Aren't they cute? I got one of these for each of the beds in the beach houses. Beach House Thailand, by the way, on Facebook. Or you can go to the description below and go to the Airbnb site and see all the photos. But aren't they cute? So we're going to put one of these on each of the beds to welcome everybody, because we are along a beach that gets a lot of turtles. In fact, Steve Ross has renamed it Turtle Beach. So I thought they're very cute. So we've got one for each of the beds. Thank you, Scott, by the way. Tim, the news is fine as it is, ain't broke, says Robert, talking about the length of the news programs. I was suggesting we might change the length from 15 minutes down a little bit, but interested to know what people think. A Bangkok Pat said he might join the grumpy old men. Fun Size Media. Bangkok Pat would be more than welcome if he's ever in this part of the world. I'd happily welcome him to the mic. Talented guy, like his stuff. Steve is less grumpy this week, says Fun Size Media. Steve isn't on at the moment. He'll be on tomorrow. Oh, you're talking about his channel. Yes, I did watch it. What was he talking about? He was talking about his vow of silence. So if anybody wants to see Steve Ross talking about his vow of silence and whether he was silent for 3 days or not, you can go to his YouTube channel, Steve Ross, with an E on the end. What happens if you don't pass your medical in Thailand? Which particular medical? I know you need a medical certificate if you're going to get a B visa. I don't think anybody's ever failed that particular medical. I used to go to a man, I think he was about 110, he was a doctor, and I'd walk in and he'd say, "How are you feeling?" I said, "I'm feeling fine." He'd take my blood pressure, say, "See you next time," and he'd just sign off. That was the extent of my medical exam. What happens if you don't pass your medical? You're probably going to have to give me some more information. Somebody pointing up, whatever 116. Did I miss something? Did I? Hi Tim, have you heard anything regarding visa-free tourist limited to 2 visits by air in future, or is it perhaps stupid rumour again? This is from Leon Foury. Visa-free tour limited. Well, as far as I know, that's been the rule. If you come to Thailand by air, I think you are limited to 2 visa-free or visa-exempt visits per year, per calendar year. I think that's the way it is. So if you here for, say, 30 days, you get an extension for 30 days, makes it 60. You have to leave the country, and then you stay perhaps in Cambodia for a week and you fly back, you'd get another 30-day visa exemption, which you can extend for another 30 days, so that's added another 60 days. If you then fly out again, I don't think legally they're going to let you in. Now, if the immigration officer's having a good day, and depending on where you actually arrive, you might be allowed back in. But I think technically you're only allowed 2 visa-exempt visits each year. I'll check on that. But thank you very much, Leon. These things change from time to time, and I don't necessarily get to follow all of them. I'm not an oracle. I'm not a Library of Congress. I do try my best to keep on top of most of these things, but there are some people who know a lot more about visas specifically than I. Kevin Johnson, hey Tim, love your shirts, but you buy them on Lazada. Sorry, I can't get them in the United States. An Asian company, so where else can I search for your great shirt collection? I don't know, Kevin, I'm sorry. You can't get Lazada in the States? Oh, I see, you can't get it delivered to the States. Maybe get it delivered to a friend of yours in Thailand and then get them to send it. I'm sure you can log on to the Lazada site and at least make a selection. Just type in men's short sleeve shirt or something, or men's shirts. Thousands and thousands of shirts there, and yeah, 150 baht. I mean, I'll get a couple of years out of this and job done. Okay, Thug Life. Richmond in Melbourne is my favourite suburb. Very cool and lots of great restaurants and cafes. Yes, I lived in Richmond for a while. I had a warehouse there, an old warehouse, which I converted. In my time in Melbourne, I converted 4 old warehouses. And the funny thing, as I live here now, is I realise I've basically turned this into what sort of looks like inside a warehouse. A roof, a bare roof, a black polished concrete floor, and completely open plan. So I've ended up with a loft, a warehouse style living here on the Tham Luang beach. It wasn't planned, it just happened. Richmond in Melbourne, Richmond's a great place. Look, again, I haven't been to Richmond for 13, 14 years. So I'm sure it's changed, but there were some great eating streets, cafe streets, like superb. Shorey says, yeah, all good, Tim, just the way it is, I suppose, referring to our news service. So I was asking earlier, if you've just joined us, whether you thought we should change the 15-minute daily news service to something else, whether you're happy with the 15 minutes or whether I could get away with something shorter. I'd certainly like to do something a little bit shorter because I would like to then maybe a couple of times a week do a specific opinion piece about particular topics and then keep the opinions out of the news. Because this post on Reddit, blistering attack it was saying, and I take all these criticisms on board, of course I should, and they were saying that I'm boring and the news is too long and that I'm a useless journalist, that I'm only talk about my animals and my Airbnbs. I'm sorry if I mention the hello, good to see you too. If I talk about the rentals from time to time, at the end of the day, I mean, I've got to pay the bills. I've got a company here in Thailand, I've got a business, and if I couldn't live on what I make from YouTube, I can promise you that. So yeah, I mean, I do need people to come and visit the beach houses. So I'm sorry if I talk about them for a minute here and there, but really, I do have to make a buck. I'm not sure how other people make their money, but I know if I don't have guests, I don't pay the rent. If I don't pay the rent, then I've probably got no money left for food. If I don't eat, I die. So yeah, please, it's not quite as bad as you think. Anyway, somebody who's certainly not watching the program. Ty Draper, thank you very much. Ty, I think, is all the way from the United States, given the currency there. Really appreciate your strong support there and your very generous super chat this morning. Thank you, Ty. You're welcome. He says, cheers. Well, you're welcome to ask a question or make a comment. Really, anytime you like. Adrian Hardy. Hi, Tim. I like the format of the daily weekday news program the way it is. Perfect length and time for me. Ross Jureka. Hi, Tim. I'm flying to Australia for a few weeks. Bus from Melbourne Airport to Ballarat went in 1 year from $35 to $47. That's around about, I'm trying to think, maybe 3 hour trip up the Calder Highway. Struggling a bit. But yeah, Tullamarine, well, you're lucky at least Tullamarine, the main airport in Melbourne, and the Avalon airport, which is for some of the discount airlines, they're both on the west side of the city, so at least you don't have to go through the city. But yeah, look, a lot of inflation in a lot of places in the world. Frank in Thailand. Sid Jones. I understand the rules might be changing, but so many works from Laos, Cambodia, Myanmar that do a border run every month, so probably won't change. These migrant workers, they're on a different visa, not a tourist visa. They get a particular type of, it's a very different visa, much easier for them to get a work visa as well. So I don't think you can compare the Burmese, the Cambodians and Laos to people on a tourist visa, quite a different situation. C. Rig. Hi Tim, your open plan place sounds perfect and relaxing. Would love a warehouse loft style and maybe do some soundproofing. Interesting soundproofing. Yeah, when it rains it gets quite noisy in here, and I suppose after the wet season I'll tell you if it was a big problem or not. But yeah, when the rain hits the roof, I'll get to hear it because I've got no insulation or a ceiling underneath the roof, which is just the way I wanted it. But yeah, well, the times it's rained, it hasn't particularly bothered me, except I've noticed that, oh, it's raining. So somebody, Big Tony, where's that comment? You have a soothing, reassuring demeanour. Don't change. I hope not. Frankenstein, Tim, I really enjoyed your journey and promotion of the houses. Thank you very much. Stephen Broderick. Tim, I really enjoyed your daily show. Don't worry about the haters. You're greatly appreciated. Look, the thing about being in the social media space is that you are going to get, I'm just going to sit back for a moment, you're going to get haters. You're going to get people that don't like what you do. Now, as I've complained about in the past, and I suppose people will hate on this as well, that you're here with your head hanging out with your name and people know about you and people ask you private questions. Yet these people sit behind a keyboard, they sit anonymously, and they'll make all sorts of comments that I'm 100% sure they're very unlikely to make, at least so forcibly, to your face. And I find it profoundly cowardly that they do this. I mean, if you want to engage with somebody and make some criticisms, I think there's a civil way to do that. And there's the other way that a lot of them seem to turn to, which is just nasty. And they provoke you, and they're doing their best to really sort of pick a fight. Well, I'm just not into any fights at all. And I'm not going to respond with any nastiness. I think I might have been a bit curt in the past, but these days, I just don't respond. If people are just really nasty on my YouTube channel, I just block them. I won't even think twice about it. Of course, on other social media, I don't get the chance to be able to delete their posts, so they stay out there for people to read and comment on. But yeah, look, and for those people that think, oh, just don't worry about it. Well, if somebody says something nasty about you, of course you are going to at least think about it or ponder it. I don't let it worry me as much these days as it used to, but nasty comments are nasty comments, and we're all human, so it's all very well to say, oh, don't worry about it. And other people, and they rightly say, look, if you can't stand the heat in the kitchen, get out. But I'm here in the kitchen, and I put up with the blasts I get from some time. If people come up with a good argument, I don't mind a good argument. I don't mind people disagreeing with my opinion. That doesn't bother me at all. It's when they get personal and use some sort of personal attack as a way of getting back at you that I think, really, what's wrong with your brain? Why do you resort to sort of nastiness instead of some sort of intellectual, stimulating, useful comments? That would be much easier. Anyway, the long and short of it is that we all, anybody in this YouTube space that does it consistently and as a business, we all want to try and improve what we're doing. People like Chris from Retired Working For You, Chad from Chad's channel, the cars and stuff. Can't remember his channel name. Sorry, Chad. They're doing this professionally, and they do a I was going to say fantastic, and I was heading towards fabulous. They're doing a fantastic and fabulous job. People like Bangkok Pat, even Steve. I mean, he does his regular weekly vlog, and he's also trying to improve what he does. And those of us that do it consistently want to try and improve what we do. And yes, getting subscribers and getting thumbs up and views is all part of the game. Not really sure the point I was trying to make there. Pooping while standing. You can't do any better than that. Says changing your format would cause microaggressions. Might be the case. Bart says, question, what is your favourite thing about Thailand compared to Australia? Captain Canuck, CB Media. Sorry, I forgot Chad's channel. It is CB Media. I've got the t-shirt. Somebody's got their radio on out in the street. That's fine. It's a public street. What's your favourite thing about Thailand compared to Australia? It's hot every day. I used to live in Melbourne, and we used to have quite cold for me, winters. My body doesn't like the cold, so I think the climate, it's consistently hot. At the moment, it's consistently fucking hot, but yeah. Also, people generally are just a bit more, as they say in Thailand, sabai. The whole concept of mai pen rai, just doesn't matter don't sweat the small things. That seems to be alive and well here in Thailand, and a culture that I certainly appreciate. Human nature sees people who are envious and jealous sometimes turn to nastiness to vent their own frustrations, says KS. Chad hates on Tim. No. Chad doesn't hate. Chad's a good guy. I mean, I don't know him terribly well, but yeah, I mean, I speak to him from time to time. He pushed a sponsor in my direction a few months ago. So, yeah, I enjoy any catch-ups with Chad. He's a good guy. He's a great performer, and I love his YouTube channel. Fantabulous, says Tada Minbury. Thank you, that's a good word. Ty Draper, I was told by my grandmother that people that curse and say things bad are just a weak mind trying to express itself. Everyone has haters. It's nothing personal. They want the sadistic pleasure of hate. Watch It Buster says, you might be right, I don't know. I don't want to get too much into the psychology of it. Except, bullying is bullying. And, if I was really that badly affected by it or wanted to have no bullying, I'd just walk away from the channel. But I enjoy doing a daily news program, and I enjoy, for example, these Saturday chats. Speaking of which, we're starting to go on a bit long. Give me a moment. I'll do 3 more comments. Chad has a car channel. He shouldn't be talking about Tim. He's not talking about me. Good heavens. I'm getting so sick and tired of Melbourne winters now, says Dave C. Well, I did something about it back in 2015 and glad that I did. I still love Melbourne. It's a great city. I think it's one of the great cities in the world. Very hard to beat from a culinary perspective, very hard to beat from a getting around perspective, very easy to get around. Also from the perspective of entertainment, you can go out and see a new world-class show every week, and it's got a fabulous theatre scene. Eileen Morris-Duke. Eileen, I can't thank you enough. Thank you very much for your very generous support. I don't know what to say. You get me right here, Eileen. Thank you very much for your support. Eileen Morris-Duke. Cup. And 10-minute segments would be great, or 2 5-minute segments. That's from Dean Lancaster Music. 10-minute segments. Also, I do want to start a new channel at some stage because I've been pigeonholed by YouTube doing the news. And that's fine. That's where they've pigeonholed me. But I do have other things I want to do. I want to talk about lifestyle, music, a few other things. And if I do them on this channel, I just don't think they're going to work. So I'm probably going to start another channel where I'd probably migrate the Grumpy Old Men program as well, because I think it suffers from getting a larger audience because it's put in the same news bracket, and it's not really a news program. So again, we're all trying to figure out how to get the best out of YouTube and provide you with something that's largely free and something that is of quality. Eileen, thank you very, very much. Come on, Eileen, as Siri Ann says. What was the name of the band? Dexy's Midnight Runners? Oh, that's a guess. Dexy's Midnight Raiders? Dexy's Midnight, I don't even know if that's right. Dexy's Midnight Runners, I think. Somebody's going to tell me. Come on, Eileen. Kemet says, I don't think you should shorten your daily show. Personally, part of what makes it enjoyable to watch is the consistent interjection of your personality, including your comments and opinions. Looking forward to the new look forward to the new thing. Well, this isn't a sort of a I'm going to change everything. It's just a bit of a, well, what do you think? So anything that's going to change isn't going to change on Monday. And if I do some changes, they're not going to be radical. And I'll make sure I tell everybody what I'm doing before I start. Dexy's Midnight Runners. Thank you very much, Mungo. Dexy's Midnight Runners. You're as old as me. And also from Ted. Shorey, think about Grumpy Old Men on the Road. Grumpy Old Men on the Road. Look, the problem is getting Steve out of Time Lung. The only road we'd be able to travel on is the beach road, I think. I just don't think grumpy old men on the road's going to happen. Thug Life, you should do a Mark Wiens type channel where you taste test Thai food across Thailand. Thug Life, thank you very much. I think the problem is he's already done it spectacularly well, and every second vlogger does best pad Thai, best this, best that. I'm not sure if I can do it any better than they've already done it. Also, my palate just doesn't extend to the very spicy. So I'd be limiting my Thai palate to some of the less spicy dishes, which I don't think is a fair representation of the huge rainbow of spectacular Thai food that is available. But thank you for the suggestion. Comment from Bart, don't shorten anything. Okay, I hear you. Perhaps just short breaking news and a once a week opinion piece. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking of perhaps an 8 to 10 minute daily news and then once or twice a week doing a longer opinion piece, because when I share an opinion on the news program, I usually get to say a snappy, or some people say snarky, 1 or 2 sentence comment, and then I've sort of got to move on to the next topic. I don't get to properly flesh out some of the important news pieces. So that's the only reason why. I mean, some news stories are just simply more important than others, or more important to you, the viewer. And I'd like to spend more time by digging in and saying how this story could affect you. But I just don't get the chance to do that when I just simply have to move on to the next news item. I love your commentary on your newscasts. Don't shorten the length. Perhaps just short, but I've done that one. Just don't do too much of Mark Wiens' foodgasm face too often. Oh, he has foodgasms, does he? So I haven't noticed that. I'd watch a second channel of Tim Life, says Wayne Willis. Yeah, I don't exactly know what it's going to be called yet. Postcard from Thailand. I'm guessing there's probably 50 other channels called Postcard from Thailand. But some of the things I want to talk about are not necessarily about Thailand. I suppose I'm speaking from the perspective of a person that's got 65 years under his belt, been around the track a few times, had some interesting experiences, and just would like to synthesize some of the things that are happening in the world and perhaps giving a different or fresh perspective on those. Also, the concept of retiring, growing older, and living as an older person, and doing that in Thailand. I think there's an interesting story there. A lot of people get into some very bad habits here in Thailand, easy to do. One of them would be eating Thai food 3 meals a day. If you eat like the stuff you get in restaurants 3 times a day, you're going to have some health problems, because Thai food's got a lot of sugar in it, a lot of salt, and a lot of fat. And although it tastes fantastic, sometimes that sort of diet and a lot of white rice is not necessarily the best for your, the best for you. So I think some of those things need to be, I suppose, explained. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist, but I'm fairly widely read on some of these topics and some other topics, and I'd just like to give a bit of a fresh perspective anyway. I think we've done enough. I'm going to say goodbye. Thai Theo, it's hard to stop reading these. I like the news in the current format too. No need to change it. Also, something to think about is that the amount of subscribers steadily grows, and that's my opinion because of the format. Yeah, look, I mean, I can't change it. Can't deny the fact that the channel is slowly growing. I've never bought subscribers like some channels. I won't mention anybody in particular, but you can go to like socialblade.com if you want to go and check a YouTube channel and see if they've bought subscribers. Socialblade.com, type in the name of the YouTube channel and just have a look at their subscribers. And if it sort of goes whoop, or if it goes they're buying subscribers. Nothing is more sure. Organically, you're never going to get those sort of jumps, or it just doesn't happen organically. Socialblade.com. Check your favourite YouTube channel. See if they've been buying subscribers. A lot of MSG, says Ross Kennedy. Yeah, look, MSG doesn't do anything to me. Actually, I've said this before, I don't believe it is a health problem for anybody. I've done I did a radio live experiment with MSG, proving that it just didn't have any effect on anybody. Now, having said that, again, I'm not a doctor or a nutritionist. I've just done my own research into the matter. But a lot of people feel or think that MSG does have a profound effect on them, and I don't deny that that's how they feel. But I'd actually be quite interested to know if there was something really happening inside them. Just very briefly, we had 6 people come in, and we told them, it was a test about MSG, and we told 3 of them that you're eating the food with the MSG, and we were going to check their blood pressure and other sort of vital signs against the other control group, who were told you don't have any MSG in your food. That's right. But what we did is we swapped the food over. So the people who were told there was no MSG in the food had the food with the MSG. And none of them had any signs or problems at all. But the people who were told that they were eating food with MSG in it, that didn't have any MSG in the food, identical food, except without MSG, they all had rises of their heart rate. Some of them were saying, they were finding it hard to breathe, but there wasn't any MSG in the food. I think it's an interesting topic, and most Asian food has some MSG in it, particularly Japanese food and a lot of Thai food as well. And I'm sure Ross is going to get back to me because he's not... Ross is one of those people who I regularly disagree with, but he does it in an intelligent sort of way and expresses his opinions without being nasty. And I think that's great. So Ross is one of those subscribers I love to have, somebody who's got a good argument, that disagrees with me often, and that's fine, but does it in a very civil way. So thank you, Ross, for your ongoing support in at least watching. Kevin Johnson, you're the last one here. Can't get any of that here in the United States. Believing I want to Lazar website. You can't give him the US period. I think you can go to lazada.co.th. Lazada, L-A-Z. I'll type it into the. I'll type the address for you. lazada.co.th. There you go. So I put it on the stream. So if you go to that, I'm sure you can see the website. You may not be able to buy things though. So get a Thai, find what you want, and then get a Thai friend to send it to you. I don't know. It's the best I can think of. Steve would go on a road trip if you visited his old stomping grounds. What? Phuket. That's it. G-Rig, you've got the final word. The problem is the more sodium you have, the more you crave it, and your daily amount is easily exceeded. It's also a lot of junk food. Yeah, I think that's a fair comment. Yeah, a lot of salt in Thai food. Mind you, I adore Thai food. I still have it at least once or twice a day, but I'll usually have a healthy breakfast. I'm getting into having these sort of veggie shakes, any vegetables left in the fridge. I'll usually throw about 10 different vegetables and some fruit into the Vitamizer and have these ghastly smoothies in the morning. But they are good for you, and yeah, 10 seconds of hell drinking them. And I just go, oh, it's doing good for me, so it's worth drinking. And somebody also said there's Shopee, S-H-O-P-E-E. That's another one that you can buy things easily online. Artificial sweeteners are also an issue in processed foods. Well, here we go. Look, I'm not going to get into all the various nutrition comments. A lot of people believe that they've got their own nutrition truisms and they stick by them, and they'll be able to find any amount of evidence, as you can find any amount of evidence for anything on the internet, and they're happy to stay with that, and I get it, and that's fine. Yeah, I try and avoid artificial sweeteners. If I'm ever going to have a soda, as they call it in America, or lemonade or a Coke, I'll have the one with the sugar in it rather than the artificial sweeteners. That's my choice anyway. Thank you for joining us. We've covered a lot of topics. We've had a lot of people online. Hopefully you might know at least one thing extra about Thailand that you didn't know before we started. To all those people in the super chat, I really, really appreciate your support, more than you could ever imagine. Your generosity is profoundly humbling, and I really appreciate it. To everybody else, really good to have you along the journey as well today. If you are in a hot location, drink lots of fresh water. That's the best thing you can do. If you're going to have a lot of alcohol, okay, that's fine, but drink lots of water while you're doing so. Keep up your fluid intake in the way of fresh water during these really hot months here in Thailand. Bring on the wet season. Have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you with Steve tomorrow. I'll be back with our normal 15-minute daily program on Monday. See you later.